That George Bush, that damn George Bush, has raised another moral controversy here in the United States. This one relates to a decision that he made to locate his presidential library up in Dallas at the university called Southern Methodist University. Now, I admit, and it is sort of a cheap shot to point out that use of Bush and library in the same general vicinity is an oxymoron, because we know for sure that George has never actually read any other book besides The Very Hungry Caterpillar, and he's also read some part of The Pet Goat, which he struggled maybe 19 or 20 minutes with during the time he was evading his responsibilities during the 9/11 attack. But that's about the extent of his reading. So Bush and library don't really go together. But the issue is more complicated than that, because we also know that George Bush is a bloodthirsty warmonger who is murdering or arranging for other people to murder women and children in a country that have never done us any harm, at the expense of wounding thousands of our young men and women and killing over 3,000 of those same young men and women. So the question is it okay for a bloodthirsty warmonger like George Bush to locate a very expensive building on the campus of a Christian college? Because Southern Methodist University is associated with a Christian denomination. They're Methodist, and we know that when Jesus said you should love your enemies, he didn't mean you should kill your enemies. He meant you should love your enemies, because, you know, God loves your enemies, so you should too. So I think to resolve this problem about locating Mr. Bush's library up there, that we should take the money that he has raised, and I believe they say he's raised like $500 million. We should take that $500 million and use it to buy copies of the only two books that he's ever read, The Very Hungry Caterpillar and My Pet Goat, or not My Pet Goat, The Pet Goat, and distribute those just as far as they'll go to the children of the United States. And Mr. Bush can give his own personal, even signed copies to the public school, to the public library located up next to the school in Kennebunkport, Maine, which is where he comes from. And the Kennebunkport Library can probably, without problem, because they are a public institution, give him a plaque or something inside of the library that says that this is the Bush Presidential Library, and maybe even get him to sign those two books. That way, most of the kids in the United States would probably get a copy of these two books, and we would not waste all the money or morally compromise the people who work at SMU by locating a library, locating any kind of edifice associated with a bloodthirsty warmonger like George Bush. What do you think?